That's right. All right. So if you're listening again, just don't cheat. Just think of it like you're at the
Seriously.
bar. It's sports trivia night, and you have to have your phones put away. Just use your head and come up with some guesses. And as Rod said, it can get very exciting as people are fighting back and forth, like they did with my Michael Jordan trivia a couple
Oh
months
man, that
ago.
was good. That was good.
So the first question of the night is, as we all know, Mac McClung participated in the dunk contest, and he has a 2-week contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. And we don't know if that's because he wanted to participate in the dunk contest, so they made him, they signed him for a contract or whatever. But there are two players in the history of the three-point contest that were able to participate while not under contract with an NBA team. Name those two basketball players.
This should be a good one right here.
That one
Drew,
is a
what are
tough
you
one.
thinking? Yeah.
Definitely. The second question, also three-point contest related. We know that Kevin Huerter didn't have his best night shooting the three ball.
He couldn't get water from a boat.
He only had 8 points out of what is the possible 30? It actually may be even higher than that because I think
it's
there are
like
more bonus balls now.
Yeah, they got those two like 3-point balls, so it's like at least like 36 now or something like that.
Yeah, because now that I remember, I think Lillard had 31 in the first round.
Yeah, it was Halliburton that had 31 in that preliminary round. Man.
Okay, Halliburton.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
this makes it even worse for Herter that you had more chances and you got less.
Right, exactly. So Kevin Huerter made 8 points in the entire round that he was able to participate. But that is not the worst round in the history of the three-point contest. There is one player that made less shots, had less points than Kevin Huerter. And I'll give you a hint. It is an NBA player.
This should be a good one. A real good one.
Very important that they should know that. All right. So here's something cool. Okay, guys, we're live on TikTok now. And I haven't shared this with you that we are going to have this ability to do this. Let me find it again. Within all the buttons here, I set it up and now I've lost it. This is fantastic. There are too many buttons for me to press. And that is, it's hilarious to me because that's always whenever we have more people come in is whenever I'm scrambling here trying to find something. We'll just make sure to edit all this out. All right. Right here, Josh. I know your wife is probably not watching live. Mine is. So maybe we'll get some votes in here. So here we go. Let's do it right here. And there you have it, guys.
All right.
So for those of you that are watching this
Katie,
in syndication or potentially listening later, I just dropped a poll in the chat. So now everybody that comes into this room will have to answer the question, Coke or Pepsi? It's been a heated debate here. I don't even know.
I can't wait to see these results.
I don't know that it's been a debate at all. But hopefully these folks that are just running in and out will give us some answers to our poll. We've had about 150 people in here, so hopefully the next 30 minutes ish will go the same, and we'll get some answers to some much debated questions on the Culture of Splife podcast, right?
Yes, indeed. I showed y'all that picture that I saw, or the little box that I saw. That was tips for Coke and Pepsi at a local restaurant here. I couldn't believe it. And maybe it's the same thing as when you bought a black Honda Civic in 1992, and then all of a sudden everybody had a black Honda Civic. That could be what it is.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
I've been to that restaurant hundreds of times, and I've never seen that box there. So, Coke 1, Pepsi 2.
It's Ambro 8. Katie will be happy with that response.
Yeah, Kaysen would say Coke too. So that's my family. That's the vote right there. So it would be 3-2. Would be the final vote in my household of Coke versus Pepsi. The two
Wow.
little ones, they're young though. They don't know any better, right?
Sure. They just know it's sugary and they like it. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we'll see if we get any answers here, other than from family members. Katie's trying to log on to TikTok as we speak, so
she's got to drive that up.
We are very old, so I couldn't spell TikTok till just a couple months ago. So
it was amazing. Last night, Josh and I had a dry run at this whole TikTok thing going live, and I had to coach his 13-year-old through how to get him live. She successfully did it, though. It was great. we had her kind of like the profile here, like hey, you're gonna do this and everything. We were trying a couple of different things. Ultimately, it didn't work out what we were trying to do, but it was still good fun. She had a learning experience, right? That's what it's all about. And her dad got a teaching experience out of it.
That's for sure. Still learning.
I am too. Again, I haven't flipped around my camera yet, so I may have invited some random stranger to join us on our podcast, but I haven't shown off my ladder and unfinished wall yet. So I'm doing good. All right, let's get to the next topic, which is Mr. Bracketologist up the top. Right?
Indeed.
Let's talk some brackets here, Rod.
All right, let's do that.
Okay.
Hold on, let me introduce Mr. Rod Bradley real fast because he's a very humble man. But from a bracketology standpoint, he has no reason to be humble. Why do you think that is, Drew?
Oh gosh, it's a national ranking and it varies from day to day. And from hour to hour, I feel like, because his ranking is always changing. So where is he ranked nationally in bracketology?
I didn't look it up, but the last I saw, wasn't it like 22?
Yeah, I've been as high as number 2 in the world.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And so that means nothing to most people that aren't bracketologists, right? Mm-hmm. But as you look at that ranking, even if you get all the way down to 22 where Rod is, guess who's below Rod? Well below Rod.
Yeah, we're talking about like number 88. Yeah.
Listeners, have you heard of Joe Lenardi? He's 88. And then beneath him is Jerry Palm.
I mean, we're talking about like almost like 130.
Right. So without further ado, here is Rod Bradley, who shouldn't be with us. He should be on SportsCenter right now, talking about the impact of Tennessee losing to Texas A&M tonight, perhaps.
I mean, that was a good game, but I mean, ultimately in my bracket, that would have some impact. You're exactly right. So yeah, I mean, this has been something that I've loved to do for a number of years now. One of the things that really got me into it was just kind of looking around, like, these bracket people here. I mean, like, this doesn't even make any sense. I think I could probably do better than them. I mean, we say this all the time. So I decided, let me go ahead and actually try to do that. And so I started it, and every single year, my bracket has done much better than all the people that we look at. And I do find it funny that, like, if you're watching ESPN and, the talking heads are like, well, the impact of this is Joe Lenardi has them at, a 4 seed now because of this. Well, Joe Lenardi, I will at least give him credit here. I actually met him like maybe 8 years ago, and he used to shout me out as well with my brackets and everything. And then all of a sudden, I started gaining all this traction and beating him, and of course that ended subsequently. So, but what's crazy about it is he does usually, with the exception of 1 or 2 teams, he can get everybody right that's in the field. And so that's kind of been like his stick and what he's been at least good to decent on. But traditionally, he's been terrible at seed lines. He's been really bad at like the bracketing principles as far as like where people go or how they're seated, and that sort of thing. But it's just ironic that anytime like if a top team loses, they're like, well, Lenardi, where's he going? Or Jerry Palm, which Jerry Palm has just been bad all around. Like, I mean, with whether it's the teams getting them right or whether it's where they're going to be seated, he's just been really, really bad at that. And traditionally, I can get anywhere from between 40 to 50 of the seeds like exactly right. And typically the other ones I'm within one seed. And there's usually just a couple of them I'm maybe within like one or two seeds of. So I've been pretty good about that through the years. And it's just been me. I mean, there's been some folks that actually were on like CBS because they won the bracket and they were so good at it, but it was like a team of like 10 people.
So I'm a big math guy. Analytics has pretty much been in my job title for a decade now. And today I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get Rod in his nonsense today. I actually shared it on Twitter on my personal account. He of course posts to Culture of Splife, and I thought it was worth a share because I noticed something unique about the polls today. And, when you're thinking about the bracketology and a big mathematical formula, part of that consideration does have to be polling versus where somebody's at in their own conference. You've got to take all the things into consideration. And what I noticed was weird today is that when the polls came out, you had Arkansas and Missouri that were actually received votes in the polls. So they'd be like, if the poll went to 40, they'd be in the polls, but they're not in the poll because it doesn't go to 40. And Auburn was not, which y'all know that's my team, right? Of course, I'm checking up and I'm like, why the heck isn't Auburn? Because they're above these guys in the standings. And I was like, ooh, what does Rod's look like? And by God, you had them all like properly ranked. I was like, man, I was gonna poke holes in this bad boy. and like you're paying some close attention to not only the polls, the top 25 polls, but also where they're hitting in their divisions, right?
I mean, there's a lot of that goes into it where it's just not like you just said, just the polls. A lot of it goes into what they would say would be like your quad one wins, which for any of our listeners, that would be if you beat a team that was in the top 30 when you were at home, that's considered a quad one quality win. If you beat a team that was at least within the top 75 when you were on the road, that's considered one. Or if you beat a team that was like within the top 50 on a neutral site, that's considered like a quad one win. So oftentimes polls are just like kind of like football. Like if you lost this past week and the other teams didn't, regardless of who they play, you move up, they move down, right? So, but then when you start looking at like those numbers, and that almost kind of goes into what we even look at with the college playoff and so forth and so on. That's that deeper dive when we start looking at, okay, well, I mean, aside from polls, you've beaten, you've got like 8 quad one wins. This team might be ranked 10 spots ahead of you, but they only have like 3 quad one wins. So, if I'm doing a bracket, this team here is the bracket's going to look a lot different than what the polls look like.
For sure. I saw yesterday after Kansas squeaked out the victory against TCU at TCU. The talking heads on ESPN were saying Kansas should be the number 1 overall seed. How do you feel about that? Based on their quad one wins this year.
Well, the other problem with ESPN and all the other people, and like here's the thing that's funny. Like on Selection Sunday, you'll get like somebody's like, I can't believe this. This is a crime, baby. What happened? I mean, that's what they'll say, but it's always reactionary. Like, I mean, it'd be like, oh, Duke beat North Carolina today and they won by a lot, so they should go from a 8 seed to a 4 seed. You know, I mean, like that's just. But that's how we react, not realizing there's 30 other games played this year. I mean, what did you do over the course of this body of work? And so yeah, Kansas has had a very tough schedule. They've won a lot of games, but when you look at Alabama, the quad one wins that Alabama has, the fact that Alabama is ahead in one of the toughest conferences around, and what they've been doing to teams. I mean, they are where they're supposed to be right now. I mean, it's
But
you know,
arguments like that get a little dumb too, right?
mm-hmm.
Because you know, we're projecting where it's going to be. Like you could throw an asterisk in front of just about every single game. Like,
Correct.
Because I kind of bought into the hype a little bit because you got the Alabama's loss, and then they turn around and just curb stomp Georgia, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, like your loss doesn't look that bad,
Mm-hmm.
but it still does look bad because you still
Mm-hmm.
lost the game. Like, true, you did curb stomp Georgia, and Georgia isn't the worst team, although you made them look like the worst team. But there's so many factors that go into it. The
Yeah.
loss is still the loss. When the polls come out, they reflect that. And my thought process is on the polling. Okay, well, at the end of the day, the tournament's going to be decided by conference champions and then where everybody else lands after that,
Yeah,
right?
it's so ironic that you bring that up, and then it was also so ironic, Josh, that you bring up that everybody's like Kansas is the overall #1 seed after they beat TCU, and 2 days before that they beat Baylor. But what most people don't remember is 3 weeks ago, Kansas lost at home by 25 points to that same TCU team. So that's the whole thing about this whole recency effect of you're just reacting to what just happened 24 hours ago, and now all of a sudden we're supposed to forget about what happened then.
And a lot of this talk could also be because they're defending champions too, right?
Yes.
So everybody wants the repeat. All the talking heads would love to see a repeat because there hasn't been a repeat since when?
Florida did it in 07 and 08.
07,
That was the
08.
last time.
Look, I'm gonna
Joakim
quote.
Noah, Al
No,
Horford.
06, 07. Excuse me.
06, 07.
I'm gonna quote Nick Saban on the defending national championships thing. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. There is no such thing as a defending national champion. Look, I understand Kansas is a good basketball team. It's too bad Kevin Franz isn't here, so I can go ahead and crap on another one of his teams. Maybe he'll hear this later. But if your body of work today isn't what it's supposed to be, then you don't get to, we're defending national championships. I don't give a crap. You could potentially have turned over your entire team to the NBA, and I'm supposed to magically care about that? Because keep in mind, that's happened a lot.
True story. I'm glad you even mentioned that. They lost 70% of the production from last year's championship team.
Well, and you look at all the big schools, Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, every single big school does that. They get on these roles, and the only hope that you can have is that you replace that talent the next season. And oftentimes we see it doesn't happen.
No. I mean, you're exactly right. They have customer service level turnover year in and year out.
So, it's probably worse than customer service.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah.
It's some straight up McDonald's line cook.
Yeah. Like not making it out of training class turnover.
Right. You're not getting out of your shift, boy.
But you're exactly right on that, and so when you hear the defending champions and they just won a big game, so and you even said it earlier, a lot of it is they're projecting because they feel like Kansas is in a better conference and they got all these great opportunities coming up for games. They're basically projecting that Kansas at the end of the year should be overall #1 as opposed to what it is right now.
And I mean, that's fair, but you just have to give the disclaimer for that, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, and I wouldn't even mind if we had, a top 25 poll that came out that said projected end of season and where you're at now. because even all collegiate sports would benefit from that, in my opinion. Because, like, for example, we know that Alabama and Georgia aren't going to be number 1 and number 2 at the end of the season because they're going to have to play each other in the last game before the playoffs are decided. So it's just ridiculous for us to say, oh, they're the number 1 and number 2 teams in the nation. Yeah, they might be the best 2, but at the end of the day, they're not going to end up that way. And that's not what that poll's for. That poll is to literally project where they're going to be at the end of the season. It's not going to be to project, again, winners and losers. It's not for that. It's not to say that, this person plays this person. This is, we're just saying right now, based on this team's wins and this team's losses, this is it. And then we could have a separate poll that projects that. I would love it.
What's so ironic here is over the last 5 years, the NCAA tournament's finally done, and they typically do it, like you said, like the third Saturday of February, like the top 16 bracket reveal, which is what we had this past weekend, where the committee comes out. I think they did it before, like the Kentucky and Tennessee game on CBS on Saturday, and they said that if the season ended today, this is the seeds, and this is where the top 4 seeds in each region would be. And of course, Alabama was the overall number 1 seed, and Kansas was actually listed as the 4th number 1 seed, or the last number 1 seed. So, and I find it ironic that you got the people like Lenardi and Palm that have gone around. They've thrown out bracketology, my December the 12th bracketology, and then all of a sudden it looks nothing like what you see from the committee, and all of a sudden now all of their brackets are like reformulated to try to fit what the committee just did, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a minute, you've got them as a 3 seed today, but like 3 days ago they were like a 6 seed in your bracket. So it's kind of like you don't have the real credibility that you're saying here now. So
no, it's just a guess. And I mean, like I could say what I want to right now, but if I'm guessing, I think Houston's got a heck of a team. I think they're on a heck of a run right now, like I think I'm going to pick Houston over Kansas right now.
I mean,
now,
they
will
don't
I be
really have
saying
any
that at the end of the
opportunities
season?
to lose
Maybe
any
not.
games. Yeah. So
right.
they're pretty well settled into that one spot.
Yeah, until they lose, and once they lose, it could all fall apart, and we could be singing a different song. And I'm not going to say, oh well, you said that and that didn't happen. No, I mean, there's a number of things that could happen, right? Two people leave due to injury, that sort of stuff. So,
but remember, Drew, the awesome thing that we have is when I said the Maryland, the UMBC Maryland team had a good shot to beat Virginia as a 16, and I told you that like 3 or 4 days before they actually. I didn't necessarily say they were gonna win, but I told you that year they have a very good chance to.
Yeah, no, I think the exact words you said were it was a trap game because that team is a 16 seed, but they really should be more like a 7 or 8 seed, I believe were your words that you
Correct.
used. And I remember, like, we were all working together at that
Yes.
time when that happened. And I went to Josh and told him, I was like, man, Rod Bradley called that one. Like, it was coming. We knew that was coming. And honest to God, I didn't know anything about the team. I hadn't heard about them. I mean, again, a 16 seed,
Had
like,
never beat a one before.
Whatever, let's just watch them get marched out. But nope, you called that one straight out of the gate. Although I will say the 3 years prior to that, though, God, no, it'd probably have been 4 or 5 years prior to that. I don't think anybody had projected VCU to go as far as they did.
No.
That one run. I always like to joke with my wife about that one because she's the only one that didn't get the bracket busted. She actually had them out in the 16, the Sweet 16, and which I believe is where they got out at. They might have went 8, but I don't think they did. I think they went Sweet 16 that season. And
yeah.
Like, I mean, just them winning just destroyed everybody's brackets or whatever. And it was great because we looked at my wife's bracket and she had actually projected it to the Sweet 16. And we were all making fun of her because we're like, who is this college? Like nobody's even heard of them before. Like, why would you pick them? And she admitted, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm literally just picking, like, whose mascot could have beat each other in a fight might have been a better choice than how she did it. Like
She
she
went with
was
the
just
Rams.
picking, and like she's like, I don't know, VCU sounded good. Like that was literally her thing.
And you know what was really funny about that year that they had that Final Four run and they had to be in the play-in game as an 11. Uh, the selection show was how in the world is VCU in the tournament and not Syracuse? This is highway robbery. That's what
Right.
was said right before, right after the selection show. That is, and then
Well,
sure enough, that
I don't think there's a big enough of a discrepancy in college basketball. I mean, I shouldn't say that. There are big discrepancies in college basketball, but the last 100 teams, I feel like anybody could win it.
yeah.
Because I wouldn't doubt that there would be years that even going as far as saying the NIT winner versus the main show winner, that wouldn't be an exciting game to watch when it comes right down to
I
it.
mean, it's
It
very
might
possible
even be
because
more exciting than some of the finals that we've actually seen.
yeah, because typically you'll get an NIT team that wins it. That was one of those teams that could have easily been like an 8 or 9 seed that got hot in the tournament and
Right?
and have taken anybody down. It just so happened that it happened maybe 4 games too late that they went on a run, and so they just kind of continued it in the NIT. So I mean that you're exactly right. That totally happens, and really when you even look at the tournament, and, the field of 68, usually there's about 1 or 2 teams there that you're splitting hairs between them and maybe 2 other teams, and that's really it. So nobody can ever really say that, oh my gosh, this team got screwed. If you're splitting hairs between 5 teams to pick 2 spots, I mean that's really it. I mean we're talking about the last people in,
Well,
so
and I think and that's where I was going to nitpick you today, but I couldn't because you had everything in the tournament. Um, but the thing that I was looking at was the SEC. The middle of the SEC, somebody's going to get left out. Somebody's going to go to the NIT, and they're going to have a good chance of winning it, right?
correct.
And it's funny to me because like nobody in the middle of the SEC. So I'm saying middle of the SEC, below Alabama, Tennessee, Texas A&M. Below those teams, like none of those teams are going to win the tournament this year. I mean, it would be an act of God for them to win it, right? But
Mm-hmm.
in NIT bid, I could see it. And like you said, they get hot there at the end. They get put out of the SEC tournament, get that one couple of days of rest or whatever before the NIT starts. They go out and blow everybody away. I could completely see that. Not even, wouldn't even bat an eye at the surprise.
I will tell you this. I mean, the likelihood of a lot of the middle of the pack SEC teams like winning the tournament is not really there. But I do think what we will see, and you heard it here, is when those middle of the pack teams leave the conference and they're in the tournament, they're going to be those types that are on that 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9 seed line that have a chance to knock off some of these other teams from, like, say, the Big Ten, where it's a top heavy and they're not really as good as everybody thought they were. And you're going to see a lot. I think you're going to see a lot of those SEC teams that are middle of the pack. Oh, they went 10-8 in the conference that end up in the Sweet 16 or better.
I sort of fear some of the top of the AAC. Because you have Houston up there that's dominating, but then you've got some other good teams in there that like you said, the top heavy teams, they're going to be rated really really poorly, and they're going to go up against a good matchup that's favorable to them.
And
But
that's exactly what, and like everybody. I mean, and this is one of them. I say like the 8-9s, like, oh, down goes a 1 seed. Typically, when you get teams anywhere between 7 and 10, it's usually one of those major conference teams that underachieved at some point during the year, but they got it together enough to get in, and they're going to go against some 1, 2, or 3 seeded team that was a team that overachieved to get to where they are. Like your TCU basically was an overachieving team this year. but they're going to get exposed in the tournament like early on, and that's usually how it happens.
Like Georgia did then.
Yes. So when you're picking after the selection show and you got your brackets, those are some things you want to look for. Is you want to look for those underachieving major teams that got a second chance, and they're going against a team that I'm just using, let's say like a Marquette type of team. Let's say they went like 25-5 or something like that, which they were picked probably sixth in their conference in the preseason, but they just had kind of a magical year. Say they go against, say they're a 3 seed and they go against a 6 seeded Duke. Duke's got a good chance of beating them.
As long as they don't have the Virginia referees.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of it. Now that's a whole nother day and topic. This officiating, especially for basketball here right now. But you're exactly right. So those are just a lot of the things that people don't really look at. As far as like when certain teams get in and they don't. Like I know that there's been people over time who have been like, well, the little guys always getting screwed here and they got left out of the tournament, and you let this 18-12 Virginia Tech team get in. But again, what happens, or let's even take UCLA a couple of years ago. They were 11 seed that made the Final Four. They actually knocked Alabama out in the Sweet 16, and it took an undefeated Gonzaga hitting a half-court shot to beat them at the end of the Final Four game. Jalen Suggs hit. So, but that was a UCLA team that was in a play-in game. I think they may have had a record of like 18-13, and everybody's like, well, well, what happened to 26-5 Wofford? Should they have not been in there? But again, that was a battle-tested team that got in, and guess what? They had underachieved throughout the year. They got it together, and they were good enough to be in the Final Four, and they were a fluke shot away from being in the championship game. So that's the kind of thing that people miss, and that's the type of thing I do when I do those deep dives on those resumes now.
That was a great set, Rod. You're gonna have to come up with a name.
Yeah, we definitely will. I'll have you guys help on that too.
Bradletology. So, y'all, have you ever been on a call with someone and one of the two of you is trying to wrap up the call, and 45 minutes later, you're still trying to get off that phone?
Oh, yeah.
It happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
All the time. That's
all the time.
You just named my brother right there.
You named about like 5 people I know between family and friends.
So how does that normally go?
So with my brother, it depends on how much he's had to drink. If he's calling me up during game day on a Saturday, I just hope there's a good game coming on next. Because if not, man, I could just put the phone down and walk away. I could just put it down and walk away. If it's on a Sunday, NFL, he's got to get up and go to work in the next morning, so he's not drinking as heavily then. So that would be pretty easy to get out of. But yeah, man, you just get it going. I don't know. I sometimes I shut down in the middle of the conversation. I just have to shut down.
I love when the person is saying, okay, let me go, or okay, well, I got things to do. And then what do they do next? They bring up another topic.
Yes, that's the biggest thing. Oh my goodness. It will be like, all right, well, I'm about to go. Okay, then. And then like in the middle of that, what you just said, another topic breaks out. And then that's a whole nother 20 minutes of a conversation.
And it's something like, major, right? It's like some world event. It's not like Johnny hit a home run at his baseball game yesterday and they won 5-3 in the bottom of the 12th. It's oh, did you see the earthquake in Turkey?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And it's like
Of
back
course
and
I
forth,
did.
back and forth. Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not dead.
Right.
Yeah.
And
What?
I mean, it's just the terminology that my parents used to use for that is you got to pack your lunch when you're talking to certain people, because you already know like it's it's almost like an SEC football road game. You have to fully be ready to fight it out to get off the phone with them. I mean, it's the same level, and it's like if you're not consistent with your message, all right, got to go ahead and go. All right, but let me let you go. All right, got to go ahead and go here. But like if you're not doing that like on a consistent basis, they're gonna find the chink in the armor where you may say it twice, but then they hit you with the earthquake, or they hit you with one other thing, and then boom, they've gotten in for another 20 minutes.
So, what technique have you used that's been the most successful, I guess, in being able to get off those calls?
Well, one thing that I've really loved to do here is I will actually create an activity for myself, whether I'm outside or it's like noisy at some point, where it just kind of just break. Hey, look, as you can hear here, I'm gonna go ahead and take care of this. I gotta go. I'll see you later. It's been great talking to you. Boom. Like create an activity. Do something that gives you an opportunity other than if it's like I'm hearing you in the background. You've got nothing going on, and even though you said that I've got to go, I can just bring this up, and we can just continue to talk. So like, find a way to or bring somebody else in the room. Like, my kids are loud like all the time anyway, and so
So I've got a terrible story that I'm going to tell tonight. Is my wife still in here? I don't know if she's still in here or not because this is embarrassing, but I got to tell you this because this has come up and it's public now. So this is coming out there because this is actually in reference to this guy right here. All right, so used to on my way home from work, and look, I'm the guy that answers every call. Like I answer every call. Like I used to be that way. Like 3 years ago, if you called me, I was answering that call. I'm now the guy that like has to set the boundary of look, I'm doing something, so you're gonna have to wait a second. But it didn't matter what I was in the middle of. I'd answer it like, hey man, I'm doing this. Can I call you back? Now I understand you don't have to do that. Well, one day I'm driving home from work, right? Josh calls me up. I'm heading home, and I took a back road. And the reason that I took a back road home was because I really wasn't feeling that well. Like I was a little sick to my stomach. Like I don't know if something I ate for lunch was messing with me or something. Well, I was like, I'm gonna answer the phone when Josh calls, because he's gonna get me off of my digestive distress and get me through this.
that's
And
comforting to know, Josh.
yeah, Josh is not in the know at all whatsoever. So I'm driving home, and this doesn't end well, by the way. But this is my technique. So if y'all ever get this used on you again, y'all will know. I'm driving down this back road, and y'all know I live like close to Logan Martin Lake, and there's like a little cutoff road that kind of circles around where you drive across the dam and that kind of stuff. I was going down that road. It's not a road very well trafficked. My thought is if I have to hang up with Josh and just pull off the road, I'm gonna do that. And so I'm driving through here and everything, and Josh is talking. I've got him riled up. He's on a roll. He's on a roll. He's talking. I haven't said a word in probably 5 minutes at this point. Because I'm crying. I'm in pain. I'm like, I'm about to die here. I mean, cold sweat and everything. Like, it's rough. And it was like this time of year where it was a little warm out, but before the time change and everything. I'm setting the scene for you guys. It's dark while we're driving home is my point. And I'm just like, just bust out of nowhere. He's mid stride in his conversation. I just bust out, "Hey Josh, I went down that back road and I'm about to lose my signal. So let me hop off here. I'll talk to you a little bit later. And he's like, okay. I end the button. I mean, I push the button. I never push the button here. I always like hit it here, or I hit up the phone and hit it. Like I'm not safe driving, but I literally hands-free button. I promise you, my butt was not sitting in my car seat when I'm driving at this point. I'm in pain, right? I'm about to die here. I'm like 3 miles away from my house. And spoiler alert, I don't actually lose my signal on that road. I just couldn't anymore. I pulled right off, and I'm not going to get graphic, but there was work to be done, and it was done right then and there.
You lost your signal.
I did. I lost my signal. There was nobody.
That's what we're calling it now.
Unless they had blue lights, it was not happening. That's just what happened. I don't even know if I called you back after that, Josh. I really don't. You still could be waiting for my return call to this day, because I had to walk into my house knowing what I had just done on the side of the road. And I'm just like, look, this is what happened. I'm talking to Josh. And here's the story. Here's where it lined up. Now I live here. This is permanent. I was living in a rental then. This is my permanent home now. And I drive by that spot frequently. Occasionally like to tell that story to the kids. So here it is. But
listeners, losing your signal is not a metaphor.
I'm about to lose my signal, Josh. I will flip that bad boy to airplane mode if I have to. That way you look down and it says call failed. It doesn't say Andrew hung up. It says call failed. That's a trick if you got an iPhone. Just flip it to airplane mode. They'll think your phone's messed up. They don't realize that you didn't actually lose your signal.
Yeah. You can just always stick with that was a metaphor.
Right. Right. Browns at the Super Bowl, dropping the kids off at the pool, something like that. I'm about
losing
to lose
your
my
signal now. Now losing the signal.
Yep. All the same. What in the same? If my wife is watching right now, I'm sure I've never been more attractive to her than this particular moment. She is probably just so happy, especially because people from my church follow me on TikTok.
If she's sitting down, she's like sliding in the chair.
Oh, man.
Can we get some facepalm emojis up right now to represent you, Amber?
Wow.
You didn't know this was going there, but you talked about it, and it reminded me of that story. That's what happened.
I think that's the best way to get off the phone right now. And so we all get to say, hey, look, we're losing the signals.
I'm losing a signal.
And that can go more than one way now. So there you go.
That's right.
I mean, everybody here can vote on that, comment on that, and see if that works for them too.
That's everybody's. By the way, that story, there was about 150 people that dropped in for that story. We went up from like 500 to 639 between checks on total views.
There you go. But only 5 are left, Drew, so don't be too excited.
Yeah. They're done after that story.
Hey, I mean, like, we could almost title this episode "Don't Lose the Signal."
Oh.
Wow.
We're going to see who makes it to the end. By the way, Coke and Pepsi tied. I don't know if y'all saw in the poll or even care at this point. I think the show's ruined now.
No, I think this has been purely entertaining at this point.
Josh is like, do not upload this to anywhere. This just...
I mean,
that part gets edited out.
I mean, if me and Craigo, who are with you, didn't expect that was surely an unexpected one for all of the listeners. Well, and I'm sure it kept some people around.
The best part is I was on the phone with Josh. That's the best part. That's the greatest part of this whole story. is that literally out of all the people that I talked to on my ride home, because it's not like me and Josh talked every single day on our rides home. Like, how was your day? Like even like me and Josh, we've literally went a year without talking to each other before. That's the thing that's happened. But that's who I was on the phone with.
Of all the people to lose a signal with.
Yep. Just going through a bad spot. I promise I was in a bad spot. I really was.
Yeah, it was definitely a rough patch.
Andrew has definitely let the cat out of the bag. That our podcast is not.
I mean, like literally.
So, what is our podcast not, Josh? What is it? What is it not?
Well, we definitely have an outline where we spend about 20 minutes determining what we're going to talk about, what the trivia
this is the life part.
Be. And then after that, it's just ad lib, pretty much.
Yeah. Hey,
Whose
this
line
is
is
the
it
life
anyway,
part right here.
kind of thing. Oh man, I didn't even know what to say. To say what my tactic was after you. I just couldn't follow it. There's no.
Hey,
so Rod, how do you get off the phone with people?
I mean, like it's just hard. It's just I use mine right there from earlier, but after that, I mean, like that's obviously that wins the day at this point.
The best
Losing
part
the
about
signal.
this is we'll come up with a topic to talk about, and the topic that we talk about isn't the topic that we end up talking about. And this one is such a far miss. Like, I had this really sweet story to tell about my mom, who's kind of up there in age. When me and Josh talked about this yesterday, we were like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about this. And, we're going to talk about, I'm like, yeah, my mom's got a funny shtick when she's on the phone. And I told him that. And he's like, yeah, that's good. And it's all lighthearted. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what came to me. Maybe it's the fact that I've been up since 4:00 this morning. But hey, Josh, you remember that time I was on the phone? Oh, wait, no, you didn't know because I had a bad signal.
Yeah, you definitely did.
Oh man! Wow. All right, so is it time to answer some trivia questions?
Let's answer the trivia questions.
Well, we got one indirectly answered right there. So now, Josh, you know what happened on that call.
Yep. You were wondering, where was Andrew when he lost signal? Where does Verizon have a bad signal in Cropwell, Alabama? It doesn't, Josh. Doesn't at all. It's 4 bars all the way. Actually, I only have 2 bars now, but whatever.
Yeah, you literally dropped the call.
Yep.
All right, so Uncle Joe's trivia. Here are the answers. I know you've been waiting with bated breath, but here we go. So I'm going to repeat the question one more time for the viewers that are coming in and out of TikTok. The first question was, as we all know, Mac McClung participated in the dunk contest, and was he or was he not really a Philadelphia 76er, or was it just so he could participate in the dunk contest? So it got me thinking, how many players have participated in All-Star Weekend, in this case for this question, the three-point contest? There are 2 players that have ever participated in the three-point contest without being under contract with an NBA team. Name those 2 players. So the first answer is Craig Hodges. Yep. In 1993, Craig Hodges participated in the three-point contest as a defending champion. Isn't that right, Rod? After winning in 91 and 92.
Actually, 90, 91, and 92. He three-peated. He was a Bull that three-peated before the Bulls three-peated for real.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so he was going for his 4th straight title.
Okay. So that's why he was able to participate. And the second one is a guy by the name of Remus Kurtanitis, who was a Russian basketball player who was Lithuanian. That's right, Lithuanian, yes. He played on the Russian national team. Mm-hmm. I read that. So that must have been when it was still the USSR, I guess.
Yeah, it was. Because it was in 88.
Oh, wow.
89. Yeah, he participated in 89. Yeah, 88, 89 season.
Yeah, I
Yep.
had nothing from that one.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. So those were the two. The second question was, we know that Kevin Herter had a really rough night at the 3-point stripe in the 3-point contest Saturday night. He actually only had 8 points
Yeah, that's
in
pretty
his
bad.
round. But that's not the worst. Who scored less points than Kevin Herter in the 3-point contests?
This should be good.
This 3-point contest was in 1990. And it
And
was
just for the
none.
record, that year I only scored 5 less points than the lowest scorer.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That was none other than Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Has the record for the least amount of points in a 3-point contest round.
Here's to me the funnest fact about that. He scored this many, and I was also this many at that point in time.
Yeah.
That's the.
And go figure, the GOAT is the one that has the low light for the 3-point shooting contest.
That's right.
Like, I
So,
mean, it's almost blasphemous to say anything bad about Michael Jordan at this point. Like, he never missed a shot. I mean, he never, like, so just even knowing that, like, that's probably shaking some people up right now.
so if you're listening, LeBron, you're the top scorer in the NBA. Now you can participate in the dunk contest, and even if you're awful, you're still able to compete with Jordan in something.
Yeah. Or even if you decide to shoot threes and let's say you get like 4 or 5, at least you're still being compared to the GOAT in something.
That's right. Exactly. No doubt.
That would be good fun. LeBron go out there and just score like a 1, just straight up, just nothing.
I don't know, man. That NBA All-Star game. Wow. LeBron hit like a 35-footer. I think that
He
was the
did, yeah.
first point scored for his team. And Tatum hitting everything. Lillard hitting from half court. Oh my goodness.
Like Lillard was just consistently hitting from half court.
I get it's your job to be good at basketball, but there is a unique talent to be able to hit those half court shots like that.
Yeah.
Like anybody can get lucky in the paint. You know what I'm saying? Like anybody can get. In fact, you could just be fat enough to score from the paint, right? Like me coming down there, I'm just gonna give it up to you. I'm 38 years old. If you're coming down there and you weigh over 250, I'm getting out of your way. Like I don't even care. There's no defense here. I'm too old for that nonsense. But a half court shot, like you don't just accidentally get those. You gotta practice that.
And what was really crazy about Dame on a couple of those, like he let the ball go half court, and then just is almost about to turn around because he knows it's going in, like coming off his hands, and he's shooting them like jump shots. You see the guy that wins the tuition for $10,000, and he's putting everything into it. Like he's literally just launching himself. He almost launches himself with the ball. He's about to be rolling on the ground from projecting himself to make that shot. Dame shoots it just with a snap of the wrist.
Right. It's just going in. That's what I'm saying. Like you win the tuition contest, you got lucky, but
yep. And that guy threw himself on the floor with the ball being launched.
Right. That's what's impressive to me about that. I just can't wait until that's what it is. Like that's what the NBA becomes. We no longer even get close. Like it's just we're just gonna shoot. We got the ball. We're gonna shoot it.
Yeah, I'll show you defense. I'll shoot where you don't defend.
Exactly. Exactly. Because it's kind of that way now. The NBA is not known for defense anymore. For sure. No. It's not known for defense. So, oh, you're going to do a half court press? Yeah, we'll shoot it from the other side of the line. How about that? Yeah, can't defend that, can you?
I mean, it really is going that way. Like my daughter just pulls up just inside the half court line for fun at the end of her practices, or if we're just like at the Y or something like that, and she'll just shoot them like a shot.
Hence, another reason about your defense, lack of defense, in the NBA today. Just another reason why we can't compare Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
No.
Michael Jordan was getting clotheslined across the middle when he would go up on Bill Laimbeer, John Sally, or Rick Mahorn, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, these guys. And LeBron fakes like he got hit.
Yeah, like for our listeners right now, because I mean, obviously we're in that TikTok generation. If you haven't already, watch the movie Above the Rim, right? Look at what happens when they go in the paint in that movie. Like you're getting clotheslined, you're getting punched in the face, that type of thing. Like that's Michael Jordan's league as far as like that. I mean, pretty much that was the Detroit Pistons. Okay,
That's right.
I mean, and like you just said, today it's. I mean, you just breathe on them and fake and so yeah, that movie is a good representation of what the NBA used to be.
Definitely.
Well, I got to grow up in the generation of that transition, that weird transition. I went to a basketball camp that was coached by a local legend, Dan Reball. He was the coach at the Birmingham Southern, and to this day, I still remember the defensive drills that were drilled into me. Like knees bent, tail down, head and shoulders straight. That kind of stuff. It's just drilled into you, right? And I remember going into high school and I was playing with a guy a little bit older than me, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I was always a very good defensive player. I was never a shooter, just couldn't do it, just not coordinated, I guess. I don't know. And I felt like I fouled the crap out of him. And if I was playing with guys my age, that's what it would have been like. Foul. Let me take it to the line. But this guy was like, man, you're one of the best defensive players I've ever seen. And I'm like, man, I felt the crap out of you. Like, I hope it didn't kill you. Like, that's, I was using, for people that don't know, I'm 6'2". He was like 5'8". I was not letting him get anywhere on me. I wasn't a heavy guy, but I was not letting him, he wasn't getting anywhere. I could reach around him. I could bear hug him if I wanted to. But yeah, like that was, that was the thing. Like, and even my brothers, all my brothers are older than me. Playing with them, like, nobody called foul. Like, if it wasn't blood, like no blood, no foul, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that NBA first team to 90 wins. Now it's like the first team to 135 maybe wins.
Yeah, nobody called fouls in those pickup games until when? Game point.
Yep.
Game point. Right. Everything was called at that.
That's right.
Dude, my nose points to a different direction because of basketball. And I did not get the foul, by the way. Dude broke my nose and I didn't get the foul.
Yeah.
Ouch. Man. All right. Well, I think this is it, Drew. I think we're ready for you to sign us off, man.
I don't think I will do that because I never sign us off. See, this is. I'm just gonna have to lose my signal, I guess.
All right, Rod, close us out, man.
Man, you know how we do it, man. It's not it ain't no closeout without a closeout from Josh MC Craig Go.
All right. I can't put it on our guest last week, Patrick Hape, which was awesome to have him on, and we'll be having guests on in the future. But now things are a little bit different because our guests have to have 1,000 followers on TikTok. So if we're not on TikTok, you'll be able to find us on Facebook Live at 8:30 Central most Monday nights. We're Tuesday because of the holiday.
What about this? I've not discussed this with you guys, but what about if you want to be our guest? Follow us at Culture of Splife and send us a message. If you have over 1,000 followers on TikTok, you can be the guest on our show.
There you go.
There you go. Absolutely.
You get shouted out. You get a chance to get great exposure.
That's right. And check us out on our Facebook page of how our interview went with former Alabama tight end / fullback and also 8-year NFL veteran. we're not about interviewing people. We're about them being part of our show. So, like Drew said, if you have a
Absolutely.
follower, send us a message. We'll invite you on. You'll be part of the show, and we'll find something interesting to talk about. We always do. So, um, we're going to have a lot of cool guests coming up. We're a new podcast, so give us a follow on, as Drew said at the beginning of the show, many of the different outlets that are available, being Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and we're Culture of Splife in all those areas. YouTube Shorts as well. So we hope you enjoyed tonight's show. We'll be on every week going forward. We're not just a football podcast, a college basketball podcast. We're in everything sports and funny things in life. Not too strong, not the difficult things that are going on in our world. We're just here to laugh, have a good time, and hopefully y'all have fun with us too. So until next week, we'll see you there.
Peace out.